There's something you mentioned this morning while we were having coffee on the balcony. You had mentioned sometimes you have to let go of what you love to get what you want.
Yeah.
And I purposely did not ask you to expand on that because I wanted to go
Well,
into
you were sitting to my side, and I heard you go, and then I noticed you pulled your phone out, and I go, we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah. Can you unpack that for us? I want to understand from your lens what that actually means.
Sometimes you have to let go of the things you love to get the things you want. That's about hard choices in life. I started, that mantra just somehow bubbled up for me 25 plus years ago. I was in a marriage with a woman who I was head over heels with. I had been from the moment I met her. And I'm grateful for this woman. You and I wouldn't be talking if it wasn't for that woman. That woman led me to write a book, and it changed my life. But as much as I loved her, as much as she was a life-changing force, a big stick, I realized I wasn't ever going to have what I wanted in terms of relationship with this woman. Again, I loved her, wanted to be with her, wanted to make it work, had worked my ass off to make it work. And we just reached a point where basically, I don't know if it's a matter of her heels were just dug in and just basically through action and words said, don't expect any more. Don't expect anything different. Or don't expect progress, growth, evolution. I don't know if it was even that, or I just reached the limit of how far she could go. And just in terms of her own ability to show up in a relationship and be decent.
Yeah.
And loving and supportive in the ways I wanted. And once I realized that, I loved her, but to get what I wanted in life, to have the happiness, the contentment, the love, the connection, the support that I really wanted, I wasn't going to get it from her. And one of the hardest things I ever did was to end that relationship, 14-year marriage. And looking back on it, it was the exact right thing to do. I now have all those things I really wanted. And I realized I had to let go of things I loved. And I think, that can apply to a lot of various things. You might love a house you live in. You might love a car. And you may realize, I had a BMW I just loved. And I realized, you know what? I rarely drive the car. I walked everywhere. I need to sell the car and put that money where it helped me get things I wanted. So it's just a philosophy, a mindset that we may love something, we may put our heart and soul into it, we may work really hard at it, and there's sometimes we need to walk away.
So what I'm hearing when I'm conceptualizing that is that sometimes love can serve as the biggest piece of resistance to getting what you truly want. It's sometimes an indicator of where since we love it, we almost perpetuate it just because it's comfortable for us. How do we identify that, create awareness around it when that's obviously what we think we want at the time? And then how do we make a change to getting to true desire and want and need?
That's such a good question, because I think what it requires, maybe like a lot of things in life, is the ability to be the observer of yourself, to be watching yourself from the outside. Sure. And to watch things like watch frustrations, watch you constantly trying to change or upgrade the situation. I sometimes use the metaphor that, sometimes the situation in life we're in is a pigsty, and we can remodel the pigsty. We can put shag carpet in it, we can put paneling in it, we can get a big screen TV, but it's just a remodeled pigsty.
Sure.
And sometimes we got to just move out of the pigsty. Right? We got to make a change. And where I see this often the most in people I work with, I'm a marriage and family therapist by training. So for 25 years, I worked with couples. And for about the last 20 plus years, I've primarily worked with men. And I often see this in just the people, just people in their family relationships, people in maybe where they live, people in the work that they do. Maybe it's comfortable, it's familiar, but you have that certain degree of just frustration, of longing. It's not enough. Maybe fantasies of, well, if I was over here, or if I was with that person, or if I just didn't have that. But mainly it's that either the fantasy where we've checked out of being all in, or we keep trying to make those adjustments, those upgrades, the changes to the person, the situation, instead of just realizing, maybe I just need to move on from this relationship. And this is hardest when it's family. There's a mother, a father, a sibling, a longtime friend. Maybe, you're 28. You probably still have college friends that in college you liked hanging out with them and you love them. They're your brothers. But at this point of life, you're going, we want different things. I'm focused on this. They're still doing that, right? And you love them, but you realize it's time to move on.
Sure.
Time to move on.
Would you say that the coping mechanism before you move on is being a nice guy? Like, does that show up in the actual action?
I don't know. Me often shows up by being a dick. Sure. Just say, why can't you change? Why can't you do this different? Why can't you love me better? Why can't you? Why can't? And so, you're often the nice guy. Well, me. Everybody's different. But my pattern is to be that nice guy, to just keep trying to, through my what I call covert contracts, so giving to get, or I've got this intention and I'm doing this hoping I'll get this. But the other person doesn't know about the contract.
Sure.
Or the other situation, or maybe God doesn't know about this contract we're working with. And we keep trying to do that, and it builds resentments. And those resentments turn into frustration. The frustration builds into a simmering rage. And then eventually it can come out either as just a passive-aggressive behavior, an indirect anger, or just a full-fledged victim puke, where every conversation you've rehearsed in your head that you wanted to say just all comes out. And the other person's just going, where did all this come from?
Sure.
But it's been building because you've kept wanting that person or situation to be fundamentally different, maybe fundamentally different than what they have the capability of being. And instead of us just saying, can you give me this? Can you be this way? Can you talk to me like this? Can we resolve problems in this way? Or setting a boundary or whatever, we just let it build, that nice guy stuff, until it does come out passive aggressive, blow up, or we do something to fuck the whole thing up, and we're the bad guy.
Sure.
And that's my MO.
Well, that's been huge for me as I've gone up the personal development and consciousness ladder. It's actually been more. I've given myself more permission to communicate my needs to people. I used to think that was so ego filled of like, here's what I need, and sometimes it is when you're coming from a position of like leading from behind as opposed to leading from the front. But when you feel so secure in yourself, communicating your needs, sometimes it's telepathic when you're around the right people. I want to level set just for people that haven't been exposed to your work. I've obviously read your books, been around you a lot.
Yeah, I saw it on your bookshelf right next to Joseph Campbell. I took a picture of that. I'm hanging out with Joseph Campbell.
Love that. Let's define, just so that we can level set here before we go deeper, nice guy syndrome. So you talk about nice guy syndrome. You talk about how nice guy could be a massive toxic trait to men specifically. Help us understand that a little bit better.
All right. Elevator pitch. Nice guy is fundamentally a man who inaccurately internalized an emotional belief, usually at a very early age. I mean, like very young. An emotional belief, I'm not okay just as I am, which then leads us to try to do two things. First is I got to become what I think other people want me to be. So I'm that shapeshifter, the chameleon, always checking with you. Is everything okay? Am I making you happy? The second thing we're trying to do is to hide or repress anything that might get a negative reaction, that might get anger, that might get shame, guilt, abandonment, rejected. So we are total chameleons. There's no authentic self. There's no me in here. There's a me in there, but I don't let me see it, and I don't let you see it. And so that makes us, again, fundamentally inauthentic, dishonest even. That's usually the big wake-up call for nice guys. It was for me. I thought, I'm a good guy. I'm pretty honest. Whenever guys say, I'm pretty honest, I go, that's a contradiction of terms. You're honest or you're not. You know, there's no pretty in the middle. It's not a continuum. And that's the first thing I really went to work on, was just that integrity piece of just being what you see is what you get. And going back to what you said, my needs were often the hardest thing it was for me to be honest about. I thought one of the core covert contracts of a nice guy syndrome is if I read your mind and meet your needs without you having to ask, then you'll read my mind and meet my needs without me having to ask. Well, number one, as much as I think I'm a good mind reader, I suck at it. I think, oh yeah, I met all your needs, but I was giving to get. I was giving to you what I needed to give to you to feel good about me, not what you needed.
Sure.
You probably didn't even need all that much from me. If you did, you would have asked for it. And so I'm giving to you. So I got a scoreboard over here. I did this, I did this, I did this. And then I'm waiting. Well, you're supposed to do this back. Mainly appreciate me. Or if it's a heterosexual guy-girl relationship, like me, want to be my girlfriend, want to have sex with me. Now, I'm not going to let you know I want you to be my girlfriend or go out with me or have sex with me, but I'm just going to be nice to you. Listen to you talk about your problems. Listen to you talk about your jerk ex-boyfriend, pay your car payment for you, all that. And then you're going to like me and appreciate me and love me and want to get naked with me, even though I've hidden my sexual agenda because I want you to think I'm a nice guy. So there's no authenticity there. And again, that needs is the number one thing nice guys tend to hide. We tend to think we're bad for having needs. We're evil for having needs. People get angry at us if we have needs. They're going to reject us. If we let people give to us, I can't tell you how many people, most of the women I've had in my life have said, Robert, you're difficult to give to. And I heard that enough that I go, I better pay attention. And so I've actually worked for the last 20 plus years, number one, doing a better job of me making my needs a priority, surrounding myself with people who want to help me meet my needs and who are capable of helping me meet my needs, and just asking them, can you do this for me? Or when they offer something, to say yes. A quick example. My wife, I think it was Brian was saying this morning, Robert, I just love the way you talk about Lupita, and he's met Lupita. Yep. I was showing you a picture of her earlier, the gym picture she sends me every day from the gym, and she's just such a giving person. And she sat me down one time, and she's Mexican, so everything's in Spanish, all our conversations, and she said, "Let me give to you." She said, "You do everything. You pay all the bills. You take care of me and the kids. You put a house over, house. You take care of everything. Let me give to you. That's how I show my love. Let me love you." And so it's like little things, like we'll be sitting at the table, and I'll need a fork. And so I get up to walk to the kitchen to go get a fork. And my wife will go, "Where are you going?" "Oh, the kitchen." She goes, "What do you need?" "A fork." She goes, "Let me get it for you." Now, if I let her get my fork, in my mind, that makes me like my father, who was, "Mrs. Glover, get me a fork. Mrs. Glover, bring me something to eat. Mrs. Glover, what is this? This is terrible. Bring me something to..." He was just like that. My mother raised me to be different from my father. I grew up trying to be different from all those bad men out there I heard women complain about. So if I let my wife go get me a fork, I got this internal battle. That makes me an asshole. That makes me like my dad. And I've had to learn to just go, usually I would say, I can get it, because I can't. I can get my own fucking fork. But she wants to love me. And so that is so excruciating. Growing up, with the feminism of the 60s and the 70s, I can't be a dominant male with my, but she wants to get me the fork. And so I go sit back down and I go, "Thank you, dear." Or I'm taking the garbage out. It's just taking the garbage from the kitchen out a gate or two, put it on the street. She'll go, "Do you need help?" I don't need fucking help to take a bag of garbage out. And I used to say, "No, I'm good." And I realized she wants to help me. She wants to go to the front street with me, to go be with me. I go, "Sure, come on, babe. Mm-hmm. Come help me."
It takes a lot of communication, right? And also takes finding a partner that actually is open to doing so. So how important is it to, when you're talking about in the context of relationships, to find someone that is willing to meet your needs, and can they evolve into that person? Because you had mentioned in your book about nice guys treat their partners like a project, almost like, I can turn her into what I need her to be, but that's a form of manipulation.
And it's not loving. I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship with somebody who wanted you to be fundamentally different, in any way whatsoever, be more social, be more outgoing, be more sexual, make more money, whatever, you don't feel loved. When in a relationship, anytime somebody wants you to be different, you don't feel loved. So this is such a fundamental question, because this isn't just about partnership. One of the things I teach this little practice in my workshops, and I call it cooperative reciprocal relationship, CRRs. And it is such a challenge for the nice guys, the men I work with, because again, we think we're bad for having needs. And so not only are we not very good at meeting our own needs, we're not good at asking other people. We're not good at letting people meet our needs. And we often pick people, if they're projects that we think need fixed, it's usually people that probably aren't very good at meeting their own needs. And we think they're going to somehow, once we get them fixed, they're going to come meet our needs. So what I teach the men, and this is the biggest part of this practice, is making our needs a priority and honoring that. That's a good thing. It's a positive thing. So there's 3 pages to this. I get a big piece of paper, get a bunch of colored markers. Page 1 of the CRRs is you identify every cooperative reciprocal relationship you have. There's a circle for all of them. You draw a stick person with you in the middle, a big bucket. We're going to work at filling your bucket. And then we draw a two-sided arrow. Your relationship with this person or thing fills their bucket, and it fills your bucket. It's cooperative. You're both there because you want to be. It's reciprocal. Everybody gets value. And so everybody's benefiting from it. Now, I have the guys divide this up into 4 categories. You got people, so like friends, associates, family members, that you like being with them, they like being with you. You know, I'm hanging out with you for the weekend. I thought, I want to stay an extra day. Why? Because my bucket's getting filled by being here with you, and hopefully your bucket's being filled Certainly in some way as well. That's a cooperative reciprocal relationship. You and I have a CRR. Okay, so there's people. Then there's professionals. That might be your doctor, your life coach, your trainer, your nutrition coach, your chiropractor, your financial advisor. That's still a CRR because everybody involved is getting value out of it. As a therapist, coach, I get value when I work with clients because they pay me. I can pay my bills. I can travel. I can eat. They get value because their life gets better. They come to a workshop. They get value. I get value. And if everybody's getting sufficient value, we'll continue that contract for as long as it works for us. Sometimes it's a very unconscious contract. Sometimes it's a much more conscious contract, like maybe you and one of your business clients. Sure. Very conscious. But everybody's got to be getting value or they're not going to be there. Okay, so we got people, professionals, practices. Now, this may not involve a real person, but it might involve your practice of going to the gym, your practice of meditation, your practice of your morning pages, your practice of taking Ella for a walk every morning. It's a practice that fills your bucket, and I think in the process puts energy back out into the world, so now we've still got a reciprocal flow of energy. And then there's your packs. I like the alliteration of the 4 Ps there. The packs are just your groups of people. It might be your friends, it might be your men's group, it might be your 12-step group, your Bible study group, whatever it is. It's just the groups of people that feed you, you feed them by being a part of it. So page 1 of this CRR relationship is just naming every one of those. Now, don't just put a circle that says friends. Put every friend you can think of that you've got as a resource, because oftentimes we have resources we don't use. We might have a dentist. I haven't been to the dentist in 2 years. Well, it's only a resource if we use it, sure. Right? We might have a fitness coach, but if we don't actually go to the gym, it doesn't serve us. So write them out so we have a visual, big piece of paper. Here are all the resources I have for getting my needs met. And then they're all cooperative. Everybody wants to be there. They're all reciprocal. Everybody's getting value. Okay. Page 2 is the CRRs you need to help get your bucket filled. And I've done this exercise so many times with workshops. At one time in my life, I needed a men's program. This was 9 years ago. I just had married my wife, living in Mexico, feeling isolated. And I shared that in a workshop. I need a men's program. After soon we did that practice, a guy came up and said, Robert, I've been in this program with this guy who studied with David Data for this many years. We do these retreats. I go, sign me up. I did it for 6 years. And it just expanded my life so much. Gave me so many good guy friends in my life. So I needed that. I needed a financial advisor at one time. So I put that on my list. I shared it. After one workshop, a guy walks up to me and says, you've changed my life, Robert. I want to change your life. He's been my financial advisor for the last 8 years. I needed a YouTube guy. I needed an Instagram guy. I now have a YouTube guy and Instagram guy. About a year ago, I shared, I need a nutrition coach. I'd been working out, but I got to up my game on my food. 2 guys in a workshop said, I know a nutrition coach. I interviewed them both, hired one. She's a former world Olympian, and she's got a master's in gerontology, and her focus is working on guys that are getting older who still want to make an impact on the world. And she's been my coach now for over a year, not just nutrition, but fitness, and even just kind of like life and spirituality. She sees she has a vision of me that's even bigger than my own vision of me. But I had to put it on the list. I need a nutrition coach, and it showed up. Now, I don't know if I believe so much in the law of attraction that molecules rearrange themselves to meet your every desire, but the world will be what we see the world to be. And once we see clearly what we need and name it and say it, It comes.
How often are you auditing your CRRs? And how important is it, like, how long of a leash do you give each one of them when you're no longer getting any reciprocal?
So since I do a workshop every 2 or 3 months, I get to, usually I do this in most of the workshops I do. So I'm doing it every 2 or 3 months. I tell people, do it at least once a year, maybe every 6 months. But let me answer that question. There's one more page to the CRRs.
Sure. Yeah, sorry.
Now, final page is the relationships that are maybe no longer cooperative or no longer reciprocal. And this might be the buddy from college that he just wants to go out and drink and chase babes, and you're focused on this. Well, you might just quit hanging out with them. Maybe you don't even need to have a conversation, but maybe some of them you need to have a conversation. Maybe you need to renegotiate a contract. And I know you've been through things like that. Maybe you just need to cut somebody out of your life, move on, open up space like you trimmed a plant to let more growth come. And I think hopefully that page 3, you don't have to do it real often, but you do need to do it occasionally. I've had to do it in the last couple of weeks where I just had to have some difficult conversations. I had to take some accountability that I'd co-created some relationships that were no longer serving me. And I had to own that. And I had to have some really challenging conversations that actually went very well. And now all of a sudden, my needs have been getting met in a much more powerful way. Now, again, this should always be cooperative and reciprocal. Everybody should be benefiting from, and we might benefit in different ways, but everybody should be getting value. So I teach this to nice guys because it really begins with ourselves. I began my journey years ago by conscious. I did a 1-year moratorium of no gift giving, no surprises. This is when I was married to my second wife. And I was always getting her gifts and surprises. 1 year. I mean, she knew about it. We were in therapy together. I just quit giving gifts. And whenever I had this impulse to do something for somebody, give somebody something, I had to do something for myself. Now, it didn't have to be in kind, the exact same thing, but I still had to go do something for me. That's where I began. Me doing things for me, then getting better at asking for the people in my life to do things for me, then getting better at saying yes to the people who wanted to do things for me, and then getting better at just building a whole team, a whole tribe of people who love me and love helping me get my bucket filled.
Sure.
So it's been a process, but it is a very conscious process.
So where I want to not shift this, but deepen this a little bit is like, where does generosity, empathy, kindness, collaboration, cooperativeness, where does this fit in? Because when I'm first looking at your work, I'm seeing, being a nice guy is bad. So inherently I'm like, the opposite end of that spectrum, just being a dick.
Yeah.
But when I meet you, you're an incredible human.
I'm
you're
still
not
a dick.
Yeah, but like we're
yeah, you
right?
are.
Like, but you're empathetic. You listen. You lean in when people are talking to you. How do we manage and balance the dichotomy of like not being an asshole, but communicating our needs and not being ashamed of it, while also giving a layer of compassion, empathy, etc.?
Yeah, this is the kind of question I get basically asked one way or another from nice guys all the time. Because nice guys, like maybe most of us, we're pretty black and white. Well, if I'm not being a nice guy, that only leaves being a dick. And my dad was a dick, or, I've been around dicks. I've been bullied or whatever. And I know when my book came out, the title, I mean, I don't think it's that provocative of a title, No More Mr. Nice Guy. But it kind of is.
Yep.
And we've all probably said that one time or another. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm not taking it anymore. But we'd go, why would somebody write a book teaching guys to be not nice? There's already enough not nice guys out there. And so people tend to think, well, if it's not this, it must be this. Or men will say to me, they'll say, Robert, I know that being a nice guy is not a good thing, but I need to kind of find some moderation halfway because I don't want to go be a dick. And I said, I think nice guy and asshole jerk are on the same continuum. I'll explain that in a minute. And so just finding the middle ground, I said, I don't know where the tipping point is between two toxic extremes. There isn't. Because I think both the nice guy and the asshole jerk are both being driven by shame and fear and anxiety. Okay? And so they're both in the sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And the nice guy is the flight, the freeze, and the fawn, to try to manage people and situations, to manage their anxiety and shame. The asshole jerk, the dick, is just in fight mode of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, And they manage people in situations by just being aggressive, by being dominant. And so, just trying to be less of this and a little bit more of this isn't the answer. So I say we have to actually do a plane shift. We have to come up to another plane where we can actually soothe our anxiety so we're not being managed by anxiety. So most nice guys really are kind, generous, caring people. But our anxiety drives that into an unhealthy place. And learning to release our shame by getting together with safe people and talking about who we really are and letting those things about that we don't want people to know about us and revealing it and realizing, oh, I'm not bad. I'm not a terrible person, because shame is such a core part of nice guy syndrome that there's something wrong with me. I'm not lovable. I have to become what I think people want me to be. I have to hide what I don't want them to see. Learning to be more conscious, more aware. I mentioned that ability to step out of ourselves and be an observer of ourselves. So there's a lot of pieces involved, and it's not just going from one extreme to the other. And so learning to ask for what we want. I could say, Antonio, can you do this for me? And you might be able to, you might not be able to. You might want to, but maybe can't in this moment. And that's okay. Because if I've got my team, my CRRs, there's other people who want to help me get my needs met. And I don't have to be resentful at you or blame you. I can just ask this person to help me get my needs met. Maybe they're available. Or maybe I get 2 or 3 people to help me get my needs met, because it's, maybe I need a committee to do it. But it really goes back to us being that conscious self. That it's okay to have needs and wants. It's okay to ask people. And people actually get joy out of it. Now, going back to the question about the empathy and the caring and the generosity, when people meet me, like on an airplane or whatever, yesterday, flying here, talking to the woman next to me, come to find out her husband's a nice guy. He was in the back of the plane, the culo of the plane, as my wife would say in Spanish, the butt of the plane. Yep. So we're flying, we're talking, and she's asking what I do, and we're talking, and she goes, "Oh, that's so much my husband. Oh, he needs your book. Oh, yeah, he just works all the time. He needs your men's program." So we're talking a little bit. She comes back from the restroom. I said, and I'm up in first class, and I knew the seat next to me had been empty when I reserved my seat. And I said, "Let me guess. Your husband flies a lot of miles, got a lot of frequent flyer miles, and you guys, his ticket, your ticket were on the same, booked at the same time. There was one upgrade seat available. He gave it to you." She goes, "Mm-hmm, exactly." And so he was probably just being a generous, caring husband. I'd do the exact same thing. But then the nice guy is going to sit back there. I should get a lot of points for that. I should get credit for that. She should really appreciate me. I'm such a good guy. And maybe even feel frustrated or resentful if maybe he didn't think he got the exact payoff. So it's great to be generous. It's great to be caring. It's great to be empathetic. It's great to be available. But when it's coming out of a place where it's a covert contract, you owe me this now, or it's coming from places where I get my value, or this is what makes me a good person, or this will make me be more liked, that's all manipulative. There's no authenticity in that. And these are the hardest parts for nice guys to work on, is how do you learn to be truly empathetic, generous, caring, loving, giving, without it being a covert contract or your identity or something I call borrowed functioning. Well, I did this for you. Now that makes me a good person, or it makes me lovable. And that may be something that we just keep peeling back for a lifetime. Guys will ask me, "Robert, how long will this take?" The guys give me the schematic, give me the book. I'll listen to the audiobook. I'll watch the YouTube video, and I'll be done in 6 weeks, right? We can do a 90-day deep dive and be done, right? So when guys say, "Well, Robert, how long is this going to take?" I go, "I don't know. I'll let you know when I find out." I've been at it for about 35 years. Yep. And, I was telling you earlier, just two of the coaches I'm working with, just about in the last 20 days, both hit me upside the head with a big stick and said, basically, "Robert, quit being codependent in your work." And I go, damn, they're right. I've been being codependent. I've been being a nice guy, in my business. And I was so grateful for those big sticks, because I know I'm responsible for creating the situation I'm in, and I know how to do it different.
Sure.
And I just needed to wake up. So I'm still working on this stuff. It's still in my nervous system to want approval, validation, avoid conflict, fix things, get external validation. It's still in my nervous system, but I'm much more aware of it now.
So what I'm hearing is that like two actions could be the exact same, but it's really about
they
the
might
intention.
look the same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the intention behind the action that we should really be focused on fixing.
And often we're not even aware of that intention.
Yep.
We're just doing it because it's reflexive. It's instinctive. Yeah. You know, maybe your wife or your girlfriend having a bad day and she's kind of pissy or moody. One is you may try to fix it because it makes you anxious and you want her to be good so you can relax and be okay. The others, you may go, my woman's hurting. I wonder what's up. And you get curious and you say, you all right? And you kind of look her in the eyes and kind of, you know, give her a little bit of contact and bring her in the moment. You do it because you love her, right? And that's not coming out of a state of your own personal anxiety that you want to fix it to get it better. And though your woman will feel the difference. If you're trying to fix it, she's going to resist it and probably amp it up and push you away. And you go, wait a minute, I'm just trying to help. Why are you taking it out on me? And then all of a sudden you're in a big fight or not talking to each other for a day or two. But if you're not anxious about it and you're not trying to fix it, but you see somebody you care about seems to be in pain and you're not trying to fix the pain, you're just trying to be curious, be present. If you can be of assistance, you're there, you're bringing it with love. It feels very different to the other person.
Sure. How does this look across all the spectrums and verticals of your life? So like maybe you've gotten over the nice guy side of it in business and you're leading with empathy in a good way, and your business is going smooth and you're not a nice guy in the business, but then your relationship completely different. Do you see that? Can it be in two different areas, or are you just a nice guy across the board?
No, it like I said, I mean, just in the last month, I mean, I've worked a lot on my nice guy stuff in relationship. Been working on it for 35 years. And of course, if it's in my nervous system, it's going to show up in other places. And I just was even unconscious of but the thing that I could and maybe should have noticed was I was feeling really victim-y and really overwhelmed and pessimistic.
Sure.
And then all it took was, like I said, this person saying this person saying that, and a couple of coaches, and I go, thank you. It's exactly what I needed to hear. One basically said, quit being a nice guy at work. The other one said, you're not running a charity, you're running a business. Thank you. I need to hear it. And then again, I knew what to do to move that forward. But it was showing up there and I didn't even know it. Now, an example of this, I had a female client that I'd worked with years ago. And she told me the story. I worked with her husband a little bit, not much. I mainly worked with the woman. But her husband was a cop. And she met him at work because she was a dispatcher at a local police department. And so she met him at work, fell in love with him. And once they got married, she quit working there. And so she said he would come home, take his uniform off, and turn into a total passive nice guy. And she wasn't attracted to him anymore. And she was like missing the man that she fell in love with. And she said, I'd have to go on ride-alongs with him in his cop car just to see that man that I fell in love with. When he had the uniform on, he was solid, he was strong, he was assertive, and she just loved that. Take the uniform off when he got to the house. Yeah, dear, whatever you want, dear. Yeah, well, and she's going, no, lead. Tell me what to do. Make a decision, And so, yeah, it can show up where you're pretty codependent in a relationship, but at work, you just get the shit done. And it may be at work, you're really codependent, and at home, you're kind of a dick. I've had both ways. And it could be you're just a nice guy everywhere you go and living with those covert contracts, thinking if I just smile all the time and happy in a good mood and make everybody else happy, then all of a smooth, problem-free life. But that's another one of the covert contracts. It doesn't work. So I think maybe the really key piece here is not what do I need to change about myself. I think the key piece is how do I just become more conscious of myself and accept these things about myself, like talking about being the dick. I several years ago, I really hurt a person that I loved by being a dick. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's a psychologist, and he's also written a book to go along with mine, a nice guy book. And I think he got tired of hearing me kind of, I can't believe I did this, man. I thought I'd figured that stuff out. And he goes, Robert, you can be a dick, but you're not a dick. He says, when you can integrate those two things, you'll have it figured out and you'll actually be a better person to be around because you'll be able to observe that dickish part of you when it's up and go, That's the dick part of me. That's the asshole part of me. That's the impatient part of me. That's the controlling part of me. And I don't have to reject them. I've integrated them. That's the integrated man. I know they're there. That's in my shadow. It's part of who I am. It's part of my epigenetics. I'm more like my father than different from him. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. I'm at peace with it. And my dad could be a selfish, self-centered, moody dick. I can too. I can see those pieces. But instead of pushing them down and trying to be different and compensate, I've just owned them. I can look at them and I can see when they're up. Or if somebody points them out to me, I'll go, thank you, brother. I needed that.
Sure.
Thank you for pointing it out. I don't have a shame attack about it. I don't beat myself up. I just go, I need to pay better attention to that.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, so you talk about integration, and it seems like being an integrated human is almost the quote unquote solution to the nice guy syndrome. And I've been doing a lot of internal family systems work, and that's been super helpful around not like bringing shame to the parts of it, because it's biblical about talking about, I have these warring parts of me. We have multiple personalities. Yeah. You'd obviously be able to expand on this a little bit more. How does this look like in practice? So let's go to my 22-year-old self, just getting out of college. Ego has been destroyed because I'm the man playing sports. Then just go from that to absolute shit. Depression, identity loss, not understanding who I am. What would you say to that 22-year-old where I'm being a dick in my relationships, and it's not being a nice guy. It's just being truly a dick. I hate the way that I feel because I know it's coming from my dad. All of those parts are coming out of me. What would you say to that kid?
I'd probably say you're right where you need to be.
Okay. Unpack that.
Because you probably were. You were probably right where you needed to be. Let me backtrack a little bit. In No More Mr. Nice Guy, people will say, well, are you talking about codependency? I said, yeah, it's exactly what I'm talking about. But when I wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, nobody had ever addressed codependency in men. The term itself came out of addiction studies, where you've got the addict, and then if they were in a relationship, you had what they started calling the co-addict. This was the person either trying to manage their partner's addiction or enabling it, sure, or often both. And so they were addicted to the addict and the addict's behavior. And so that morphed into the word codependent. This person's dependent on drugs, alcohol, gambling. This person's dependent on the relationship. Now, because this had primarily been applied in either in addiction studies or to women, like women who love too much. And so I didn't want to use the word codependency because I didn't want men to pick the book up and go, well, I'm not codependent. I'm not a woman, or I'm not in an addictive relationship. But that's what it is. Codependency is that giving to get, the external validation. But a term I really like even better than codependency, I think I already said it, is borrowed functioning. And that means I get my identity, my sense of self from something outside of me. Either I've had beautiful women in my life. I got a beautiful girlfriend. I got a beautiful wife. I got identity from it. You know, you got your dog lying here. I've got my dog. I've already shown you pictures of Nala. I get identity from my dog because everybody loves Nala, right? I think you probably like that. Oh, everybody loves Ella. And that's borrowed functioning. You get a sense of okayness because people love your dog, right? Now, you can get this borrowed functioning because, I helped you with this problem, or I gave you this gift, or I did this thing for you, or look, I'm the kind of good man you say that you're looking for. And nice guys often get it a lot from our fixing behavior. All right, you need fixing, I'll fix you. I get a sense of value from that. Now, one of the inherent flaws of that is I also need you to stay in a state of disrepair, because if you ever get better, I'm out of a job.
Yeah, I can't be fixing
my whole borrowed function. Where do I get my function anymore? Because you don't need me to fix you. So I might go look for somebody else that needs fixing. You know, I can't tell you how many women have told me that they were with nice guys, and the woman would go, yeah, I had my issues. You know, I wasn't perfect, but you know, one woman told me that this guy dumped me and went and got with like a homeless woman because there was more to fix, right? Huh. And I know my wife, she has a deep fear of abandonment. She grew up in a macho culture, and you know, every man she's ever known has been a serial cheater. But you know, her biggest fear, I mean, over time, you know, she's kind of said what her deeper fears are. She says, I'm afraid you're going to go find a younger woman with kids who needs rescuing and taken care of, and you're going to leave me, you're going to kick me out of my house and bring in this younger woman with kids because, they need, you feel good about taking care of them. And I go, well, your perception of what nice guys do isn't all that far off. It was her story, but that's the pattern that's seen. So there's the borrowed functioning. Now, so to back it up to your situation, I'm sure you love playing sports. I'm sure you love playing ball. But if you are getting your sense of self and your identity from that, who are you? I'm a ball player. That's borrowed functioning. Right? You're not a ball player. That's not who you are. That's not the essence of Antonio. You love playing ball. People love to watch you playing ball. Your parents probably got borrowed function. That's my son. I did. My son and stepson were both good athletes. At 12, both they were 6 months apart, my son and stepson. At 12 years old, they were both 6 foot tall, big athletes. Little league baseball team. They're out there playing. They're taller than the coaches and the umpires while playing little league baseball. And I'd be going, that's my son. That's my son, the quarterback. That's my son over. That's my son that just hit the home run. Borrowed functioning. I was getting value out of my sons being good athletes, right? Your parents might have as well, right? Maybe you attracted chicks. Oh yeah, he's on the ball team. Maybe even just you being tall, athletic. And you that becomes your identity. It's what you get value. It's your calling card. It's what what you use, to get liked and loved and get your needs met until it goes away. Then what do you got? Well, that's why I'd say you're probably right where you need to be. Because if you'd been able to use that borrowed function, did you play pro? Did you?
No, I was right on the precipice of playing pro, and then the identity loss hit me too much that I didn't persevere through any adversity.
Yeah. How about these guys that do play pro or play in the minor leagues for 8-9 years? Maybe get a cup of coffee in the majors. That's it. And then when that ends, who are they? All they've known is baseball for the first 30 years of their life, 35 years of their life. And then maybe they make the dream. Maybe they make the major league team. Maybe they make the All-Stars. But it's all going to end. It's all going to end. Everything's impermanent. Everything's going to pass. And then if they don't have some other sense of self, and baseball goes away. This is especially true in women when their looks start going away. If maybe, while they were young and 17, 18, 22, they got a lot of attention, they hit 35, they hit 40, and all of a sudden, well, who am I? And so we've all got to have these crises at multiple times in our lifetime. When I got divorced in my late 40s, I'd been married for 25 years. I'd been a dad. I'd been, the family man, the house, the Weimaraner, the kids' sporting events. When all of that ended, is like, I went through depression because who am I? Who needs me? What am I important for? What's my identity? So that was right where I needed to be, right? Because that's when we now have to struggle and go ask those deeper questions. Who am I?
Sure.
What makes me happy? Why am I here? What do I want to leave behind? What do I want to get up and do every day? And some people just go find some other thing to get their identity from. And we all do, probably to some degree. And sometimes we are lucky enough, we get a big enough stick that says, no, I got to go deeper. I got to go find out just what is underneath that. And I don't even know so much to find out who I am or what I'm supposed to be doing. But I think if we can even just get where we just accept ourselves, love ourselves, we're okay with ourselves, just as I sit today, with how I'm aging, with maybe the gut that I've put on, or I haven't been to the gym as much as I want, or I think I should be making more money, or this relationship ended, or I'm struggling with the relationship with my kids, or what if that is exactly where we're supposed to be? And we can work at just getting okay with that. Now, I think we usually need help to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
doing that on our own is often just makes the struggle worse, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's what I want to go into that a little bit because, what does the work look like? Because I kind of ran in circles from 22 to 28, maybe 27-ish of trying to figure this thing out on my own. Yeah. And just
how'd that work for you?
Not too great. Just keeping the shame loop rolling, right? And then I just continued to see the the nice guy show up without even understanding what it was. Because the only way I was ever able to get validation from my dad was never how well I did with baseball, never how good I did in school. It was how many girls I could bring home.
Really?
And that rooted in so much sex addiction, porn addiction, all these different things, until I really hurt some women. And then I overcompensated by trying to be a super nice guy, but still manipulatively to get what I wanted.
And you still hurt them.
Exactly. Yeah. So what did that, like, if I could go back and start doing more work to get to that point of feeling love for myself, what would you have done? And what would you have told me that?
I'd get you in some kind of group.
Okay.
Some kind of group. Luckily, that's where I started. When we live in just an information-saturated society, and you're putting more information out, I'm putting more information out. I mean, we got all the information we need. I work with so many guys, and they'll come to me, I see your bookshelves, right? All kinds of self-help books, self-improvement books. And, I live in that world, right? I'm part of that world. I'm a creator in that world, right? And I'm a consumer of all that self-help stuff. And, between YouTube and Instagram and audiobooks and seminars and workshops and events and intensives, there's more than enough information out there. And information is essential, but not sufficient for change. Because if it was enough, we just get on YouTube. As much time as most people spend on YouTube and Instagram, we'd all be pretty together people, right? But the information isn't enough. And I often tell guys, stop reading books for a while. Stop going on YouTube. Stop attending workshops. You've had enough Tony Robbins. I tell guys, you probably have enough information to make significant change in your life. Like, I'll go back to that story just in the last month. 2 coaches, all it took was a sentence or 2 from each coach. There was just a big stick. I go, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what to do. Action is essential. Now, here's the problem. I'm going to misquote Einstein, but he basically said, the thinking that got us into the situation we're in is not going to get us out of the situation we're in. What happens is we get into an echo chamber in our head, and we just keep mulling the problem over with our own perceptions, our own way of viewing the world, our own way of thinking. Maybe we read, maybe we listen, but even if we're on social media, it's an echo chamber. It's got its algorithms. You look at one thing, well, you're going to get fed a lot of that. So you think, well, there's the answer. And so the short answer to your question is I tell people, don't do this alone. I say that in the very beginning of No More Mr. Nice Guy. Because if we could do it alone, you can pick the book up and read it, and you go, oh, okay, I'm done. I'm done being a nice guy. I figured it out. But I say we did not become a nice guy in social isolation. We're not going to break free from it in social isolation. So, for example, I tell people, you need to get in with a safe person or a safe place, a coach, therapist, maybe a minister, a rabbi, maybe a good friend, maybe a 12-step group, men's group, divorce support group, somewhere, and start revealing your shame. Now, most of us don't even know we're carrying shame around. We may feel like we're a worthless person, but we've never called that shame. Shame is just those internalized messages, inaccurate, that say, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm unlovable. I'm defective. We got to get in safe places and start revealing the things about us we don't want people to know, or the things that we keep repeating in our head. And we need to get more accurate definitions of ourselves from people that aren't in our echo chamber. So, like, I started my personal recovery in a 12-step group for sex addicts. My second wife said, you're a sex addict. Now, so I started going to Sex Addicts Anonymous and quickly found out I wasn't having enough sex to be a sex addict. But I loved that place because I grew up in a fundamental Christian church, so hide everything, critical angry father, hide everything, angry feminism, hide everything. And I'd go to this group, and it was a men's group, it was all guys, and most of them there were pretty hardcore, had some gnarly shit going on, and they're probably thinking, why is this guy here? Just because his wife doesn't want to have sex with him, And so, but it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I loved going because for the first time in my life, I just would share about me, things I never told anybody, thoughts, feelings, impulses, actions, fears. And the only reaction was, thank you for sharing, Robert. And then I got a therapist, and then I joined a men's group, and I just kept revealing me. nobody ever melted down. Nobody ever thought I was terrible. In fact, they would usually look at me with kindness and say, that must have been painful. Or, that's actually pretty normal what you're talking about, what you're going through. Or let's see what that story's about. Or let's help you find a better way to do that. And it was all kind. And so that was such a shift for me, where I could let go of that shame that I'm not good enough, I'm bad, or I got to hide these things about me. And so I learned to embrace myself. I learned to bring the shadow up to look at it, where I could own it and it didn't, operate down there in the shadow. So not only did I release shame, I learned to self-soothe. I got support from people to, help me see, how I was a good person, right? That's not the same thing as a nice guy in the way I define it. But I was a good person. I could love me. I let people love me. And so it was a process that is still evolving over time. I still have coaches. I still have a men's group. I'm still working on these pieces of just, like I said, I've been working on this for 35 years. Men's program, men's group, good friends in my life coaches, nutrition coach. And it's not because I think I got to get better. It's like, there's just still more stuff to unravel, to uncover, to peel back. And it's actually kind of fun once you get going with it. Go, oh, that's cool. I didn't see that in there. I didn't see that coming.
I think that's an important nuance that you share, where it's like the process of becoming is the process of unbecoming. Right. So like,
I love that. That's cool.
The way so it seems like there's no final destination to this work, because you're ultimately becoming you. You're trying to unravel like who you are at the core. And it's usually through subtractions, that concept of addition through subtraction. Yeah. So what these groups really helped me do, because I used to hate the word safe space. When my guard was up, I was like, that's gay. That's like, I will not don't talk to me about your safe space. You probably voted for Biden and Kamala Harris, and I don't want to be around you. So that So
that's a pretty broad sweep right there.
And so with that, when I started to just get around other men, and you essentially just like, you're just open to being vulnerable and sharing things, you start to realize, one, a lot of people resonate. It's your problem is not that serious, because everyone's kind of going through relatively
and
similar
not
things.
That unique.
Yes, exactly. And so that safe space provides the opportunity to uncover all the lies that you're telling yourself, which then allows you to get to the true version of you. So you're no longer even like adding anything. You're simply just subtracting to find out that you already have what you need the entire time.
I don't have to become a better person. I just have to be more me.
Yeah.
Just be me. And, so let's run with this for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah, I did my deepest work early on in men's groups. And like I said, 8-9 years ago, in a new marriage, feeling isolated, I said, I need a men's group. It found me, and it just changed my life. My marriage would not have made it if I had not had that support of men. And when I was in private practice in the Seattle area before I moved to Mexico, I was leading 5 men's groups a week. And so I'm just such a believer of men just need men to live our best lives. Yep. And we men get so isolated from other men, either because we're too busy, or like maybe like me, we're trying to be different from our dads, or maybe we got bullied while we're young, or we think men are just superficial and shallow. But our ancestors thrived and survived in tribes. Men working together with other men to get shit done for the survival of the tribe. And nowadays, we're so isolated, so disconnected, and just packing all the stuff around in that echo chamber in our head. And we don't even know that. And so, for example, I do small group workshops in my home in Puerto Vallarta. So it'll be 8 guys in my office. We're together for a weekend. I tell the guys Friday night, I said, Friday night, tonight we're just going to get to know each other. And I said, you're all looking at each other, measuring each other, judging each other. Hierarchies are being, I like that guy. I'm not going to like him. I wish he hadn't come. That guy reminds me of a jerk I used to know. I said, you're going to be doing that. It's normal. I said, by Sunday, you guys are going to feel like you've been frat brothers for 20 years. You're going to love each other. And you're going to really see past all this. And you're just going to see each person for who they are. And you're going to love each other. And they can't grasp it. But so Friday night, we spend 3 hours. And we just started getting to know each other. And I said, why are you here? Why'd you spend a few $1,000s to fly to Mexico to come work? And all it takes is for one guy to go a little bit deep, a little bit vulnerable, a little bit authentic. Say, I can't quit looking at porn. And it's fucking my marriage up. One guy came to a workshop with me a few months back. It was like in March, he'd known since November that his wife was cheating on him, had not brought it up, had evidence, and just was living with it from November to March. The night before he got on the airplane to fly to Puerto Vallarta, he confronted her. They were up till like 2, 3 in the morning fighting about it. So he shows up at the workshop raw and and he was like just really controlling and rigid. And I go, okay, we got work to do. But it takes, by the end of the workshop, my wife even commented, that one guy that just seemed so, he really opened up and really got connected and was really happier. And she goes, yeah, he really evolved. But it takes one guy to share a little bit, be real. Nobody overreacts. Nobody, criticizes them. Everybody says, okay, yeah, cool. Or maybe even, and then the next guy feels a little bit bolder. He shares a little bit more. Another one goes deeper. Another one, and we get down to the things we're in pain about, that we're struggling about, that's not working so well in our life, that we've been packing around inside of us. And we start sharing it in this safe place with strangers, but because they're revealing, they feel safe. And then we start cutting past our judgments and our criticism, our projections, and we start going, I kind of like that guy. We get past the defense mechanism and the neuroses to see the real person. And then by the weekend's over and they've gone out and had dinner together, had fun, they leave Sunday and they really do have that tight bond. And they're happy, they're excited, they're loving themselves, they've got a plan for moving forward. So not only do they get close to other men who will be a support system, they maybe revealed a lot of their own toxic shame. They've got some new tools. They have a greater acceptance of themselves. This guy likes me. Or that person shared about his porn habit, and I don't judge him. Why am I judging myself in the same way? So there's just something about that power. And again, I've worked with men pretty exclusively for 20 years now, that we men just need other men to cut through our stereotypes of men. Men are all jerks. Men are all womanizers. Men just talk about sports like you and I do. Men just do that. Men just look at asses like we did with the yoga chicks this morning, right? But it's more than just that. We also go deep and we get real. We can be authentic. And then we don't feel so alone. And then we don't feel defective. And then maybe I even get resourced because you share something you're doing. And I go, I like that. I'm going to start doing that too. Or I support you in some way. And now we're not carrying that load alone. It's not just in the echo chamber of our head. We're more accepting of ourselves, which the more we just, us being us, it makes us more attractive. It makes us more successful. It makes us happier. It makes us more optimistic. It makes us excited about life because we are accepting ourselves.
Yeah.
And you can't do that by yourself.
Agreed. A couple of things I've learned from being exposed to this work, and it doesn't even have to be, in my opinion, just gathering formally in a group. It's like you could go out to get cigars with some of the dudes. It could be super informal, but the second you guys have a desire to drop in and really get vulnerable, is when real connections are made. So a couple of observations that I've had was, one, sometimes like the solution to getting over the habit or the pain that you have is simply just like having other people around you no longer judge it or shame, because you're no longer bringing the judgment and the shame to it. So it almost gets you out of the pain loop itself. But then two was, how cool is it the fact that when you get around men that are able to be vulnerable, some of my best friends are like people I've met like 6 months ago at this point, because you're building years worth of friendships in such a short amount of time.
You and I are talking on August 2nd, that's today's date. I met you April of the same year.
Yep.
And really didn't even get to be around you all that much because you were sick. We just met on this trip. I didn't know you before. You didn't know me. And we went to a baseball game together. So what better bond is there, right? And now I feel like I love you. You're a brother of mine, Same here. And we haven't even known each other all that long. But we got to know each other in a situation that was open and accepting, where it was safe to reveal, be yourself, have your struggles, learn from each other, be supported by each other. And we men thrive in that environment. We thrive. If we're going to fix anything in this world, if we're going to give women, what they're really seeking, is because we men are going to sharpen each other and learn to love each other, and then take that to the world and take that to the women in our life.
Something that saddens me a lot is when I look at my dad's generation and his parents' generation.
That's probably my age. You're probably younger than my dad.
You, right? That being said, like that generation, my grandparents' generation, he's 85 at this point. You know, a lot of them are immigrants having come to America that literally experience like real problems of like escaping communism or World War II or not knowing when their next meal was, et cetera.
Exactly.
And then their trauma gets passed down to my dad. The thing I struggle with is knowing that like there's a likelihood that they may never get exposed to this work or do this work, and they're going to die this way.
Yeah.
How can we potentially get this into that generation of like just relative stubbornness that's unwilling to change?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. How do we reach the old folks?
Yeah.
It's coming from a guy who's almost 70. How do we get in touch with the old folks? Let's talk about this energetically first. I'm told there's a Native American philosophy that when any individual does their work in the now, and it's also reflected in kind of Eastern philosophy as well, that you are healing 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. Yeah, even if you never have kids, for example. We are making a difference in maybe the epigenetic pain, loss that goes back, and we're making a difference going forward. So one level of answering your question, maybe we don't even have to go reach your 85-year-old grandparents. Maybe we don't have to go give them a good book to read or get them to watch some YouTube channel. Maybe just energetically the way we show up around them impacts them, has an impact. My mother turned 90 in May, and I try to visit her as often as I can. Odds are she'll die before me. Who knows? And I believe just by me visiting her, preparing good meals, playing Mexican Train with her where she gets to invite some of her friends over, and we do that pretty much every night. I'm there whenever I visit. I think I've extended her life, given her a higher quality of life, without me having to change anything about who she is. And maybe that's good enough. Maybe that works. And just, again, maybe just energetically, the work we do has that rippling impact in ways we can't see, that we can't even know. We just don't know. I think I was telling you or Brian last night, I started working with a corporate attorney when I was launching a new business, and got to talking to her and just mentioned, my book. And she goes, I think my husband has your book on his bookshelf. And she said he went to a workshop where that was a book they talked about. So here I am. I don't know the impact I have on people. I know I make an impact, but I have no idea how big that impact is. When we were in Japan, when we were in Tokyo, I'm having breakfast in the Tokyo Grand Hyatt, downtown Tokyo. Don't know soul other than the group of guys, the people I didn't know before I got there. Having breakfast. I'm sitting by myself that morning. A guy comes walking up to me in Tokyo. Are you Dr. Glover? That's kind of one of my few celebrity sightings, but in Tokyo. And then I actually bumped into him on a street because he's an American guy. And so I said, how do you know me? Well, I've read your book. I watched you on YouTube. And I go, how cool is that? I'm in Tokyo. So that's not to say, oh, how cool, I'm a celebrity. But it does say we don't know the depth of the impact we might have on other people. We might not ever know, probably won't know in a lot of ways. Gandhi said, whatever we do might be insignificant, but it's still important we do it anyway. So just you having 30 seconds of greater consciousness in a day. David Data says you'll lose present moment awareness 100,000 times a day. Get it back 100,000 times a day. So you just having a moment of clearer consciousness, of awareness of yourself, of awareness of a person, being more attentive, better listener, having more empathy, setting a role model, just be you being you being in good shape. For example, if I see a guy walk by that's got good posture, it's obvious he goes to the gym. He doesn't have to say a word to me. He's not flexing. He's not doing anything. He just walks by me and goes, I need to get to the gym. That guy didn't know he had that impact on me, but I see the effect on his body, how he walks, his posture, and I go, I got to get to the gym. So maybe that's how we have the impact on the world. It's not that we got to write a book, start a YouTube podcast, but maybe just the way we get up and walk down the street, maybe the way you walk Ella in the morning along the river has already impacted lives that you don't know about.
Sure. So Matthew McConaughey talks about being an egotistical utilitarian. So it's like how can I become the best version of myself and expand my consciousness so that I can do that for the greater good of the world. So what you're saying is it starts with you.
And that acceptance of you,
yep.
including accepting your needs, your wants, things you like, don't like, your dickishness, your selfishness, your control. Yeah, start with you of learning to love all aspects of you. And that makes you, not only does it impact the world, it makes you amazingly attractive to all things feminine. Women, dogs, cats, babies, money, adventure, opportunity. Just because you're comfortable in your own skin. You're comfortable with you. And that's just amazingly attractive.
As someone who aspires to be a dad, what...
Do you need help knowing how to go about that, or...
well, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, so
it's really very simple. I mean, if you didn't get that in 6th grade,
yeah,
you know.
So the untangible parts of being a dad,
okay,
not the scientific way of making children. What shifts can I make, and how can I gain a lot more consciousness around having my child go through less pain than I had to go through, of putting my hand on the stove less amount of times before I came to these realizations? Like, what are some of the important parts of a child's development where the parent has an opportunity that they hit their kid at a crossroads? Do you understand what the question is?
Well, like guys will say, Robert, how can I help my son not turn out to be a nice guy?
Sure.
Right. You've asked, how do I help my kid not go through as much pain as I did? Unfortunately, that's the wrong question to ask, because my doctorate's in marriage and family therapy. So, I've done a lot of work with couples and families. And I found that in general, parents tend to parent in one of two ways. They tend to unconsciously either parent just like they were parented, so just keep passing on, or they try to parent in the exact opposite of the way that they were parented, which is not necessarily what your child needs, right? There's I think this comes from 12 steps. The opposite of crazy is still crazy. And people always ask me what that means. Well, if like my dad did this, for example, my dad bossed my mother around, I better do the opposite. Well, but if that's still just a reaction to a crazy state, that means I now don't let my wife do anything for me, like when she wants to. So that's not a good. So I went online a little while back, because I was writing a blog article, and I used that line, the opposite of crazy is still crazy, and everybody always asks what that means. I thought, well, I better give credit to it. I thought I'd heard it in 12 steps. So I Googled who said the opposite of crazy is still crazy. And it said, Dr. Robert Glover said the opposite of crazy is still crazy. I go, okay. If you say it enough, I guess you get credit for it. So if, for example, you're trying to parent your kid in a better way than you got parented, well, you might just flip over here and become the helicopter parent and try to protect them from everything, to where they don't go through any of the pain you went through and don't struggle with it. And maybe you stunt them. Maybe they have to rebel against your controlling protection of them. So just reacting is not necessarily the most effective way to parent. I think the most effective way to parent is you keep working on you keep growing, keep working on loving and nurturing and taking care of your own inner child, like you're doing, in the family systems work you're doing. And recognize that your child is a unique human being, unlike any other, and how to parent that child will be an evolving process that you'll learn. Say you have 2 kids. They will pop out differently, I promise you. One kid, just you might look at them cross-eyed, and they get in line. Another kid, doesn't matter what you do, they're going to be oppositionally defiant and push back against you. You're going to have a different approach, right? One child needs more structure and discipline. Another needs more freedom and a longer rope. You don't know that until you get the kid. Now, as long as you keep working on you, I think you'll be a good dad. I've asked adults. I've asked people in their 60s, parents still alive, in their 80s. And I've said, maybe they've got all this grief from their parents being a shitty parent when they were a kid. They're in therapy working on it in their 60s. And I've asked people, if your mother, your father came to you, said, I'm sorry, I really messed up. I could have done so much better. I really see how I did this that hurt you. Or I wasn't there for you, or I was too critical, or I wanted too much of you. Or I've asked people, how would that impact you? And they just start crying. They go, I would love that. And so what I've been telling parents for years, it's not how you fuck your kids up, because you're human. It's how you recover from how you fuck your kids up. So you make a mistake with your kid, and either that's one reason I'm a big fan of having two parents raising kids. One of the things I've told parents for years is the job of each parent is to protect the kids from the other parent. Because you're bringing your baggage with you, and your blind spots and your dickishness, and maybe you're too lenient, and maybe your wife's too harsh. And the more harsh your wife is, the more lenient you get. The more lenient you get, the more harsh she gets. So your wife needs to protect the kids from your leniency, and you need to protect the kids from their harshness, and you need to do that with love, right? How can you keep loving the mother of your children and know that you have to protect your children from their blind spots, their woundings in childhood, their projections, their control issues, their fears? And so I can't give you this one rule that says, here's how you do to protect your kids. Your kids are going to need to go through pain. They're going to need to struggle. They're going to need to have disappointments. And they're going to need to have imperfect parents, because they're going to go live in an imperfect world. And what's best, though, is that if you can meet their needs, if you're attentive, getting your own needs met, your partner is getting her needs met, you have a cooperative reciprocal relationship with each other, but lots of other CRRs that are filling your buckets, not dependent on each other. Your bucket's full enough that you see what your kids need in any given moment. And for this kid, it might be this, and it might be completely different for this kid. You give to their needs in timely, judicious, and consistent ways. It creates an internal emotional belief in the child. I'm lovable, my needs are important, and the world is like my family. So that's the best guide I can give you. Pay attention, feel your needs, pay attention to them, meet their needs in those timely, judicious, consistent ways. They internalize an emotional belief. I'm good, my needs are important, the world's like my family. Can you imagine going to kindergarten with the emotional belief, I'm lovable, my needs are important, kindergarten's going to be just like my family? Or junior high, I'm lovable, my needs are important, junior high is just like my family. Dating in high school, first job, playing sports. Yeah, I'm lovable, my needs are important, and baseball is just like my family. Think of the difference, the impact your children would have in the world if they just had those three beliefs. So it doesn't matter, again, how you do this or how you do that. If you are conscious enough to see where you messed up, where you're not loving them enough, meeting their needs in a timely, judicious way, consistent way, and then just keep autocorrect, correct. And
Sure.
we just keep recovering from the mistakes we make and not judging ourselves, not criticizing ourselves. And children are resilient. You probably have known people who have horrendous childhoods. I've known people with horrendous childhoods. And they're out there just killing it in life. So we're resilient. We can overcome a lot. So go fuck your kid up, but just keep learning from it as you go.
That's good. So, Focus on yourself first. Go fuck it up as fast as you can so you can focus on the repairing.
Yeah, fuck forward, fuck fast.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, is that how that works?
In the context of kids, it sounds horrible.
We really are going to have to put this in context.
Yeah.
Don't make that an Instagram clip.
We're gonna
fuck
clip
forward, fuck fast.
Yep, Dr. Glover all over the news. Cool. As we near the wrap-up point here, I have a couple friends that had brought in some questions because I have a lot of friends that love your work. So we did a little phone a friend thing. So I have a dear friend that's going through some murky waters in his relationship. And he asks, how do I reconnect with my core masculine energy when I feel lost and uncertain after a breakup?
Men, you got to spend time with men. That's kind of my basic solution to most everything for men. Spend time with men. Whether it's just friendship, hanging out, going for a walk, finding a men's group, got to be with men. Again, it's in our DNA. We need our tribe. And as a marriage therapist for years, I told every couple that walked in my office, best thing you can do for your marriage is have good same-sex friends. Women tend to keep their friends. Now, they're on and off, and they fight, and they got all their petty drama. Men, we get in a relationship, we tend to lose our friends. Now we got our work, we got our woman, then maybe kids come along, and our friends got their woman and their work, and we lose that connection. But I'm convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I've seen it in my own life, I've seen it in countless men. If you have a good foundation of good men in your life, that's what you build a healthy relationship with a woman on. And especially when men say, oh, my woman's my best friend. I go, you're in big trouble. What if your best friend's pissed off at you and thinks you're a fucking asshole? Who are you going to go talk to? Well, your best friend thinks you're a fucking asshole. You better have guy friends who don't think you're a fucking asshole. I remember years ago, when I was married to my second wife, I went for a period with no friends, and I got a really good friend. And my wife and I hung out with him and his wife. And I remember my wife came back from therapy one time and says, everybody in my women's group thinks you're a fucking asshole. And I'm sitting here thinking, number one, what are you telling them?
Yeah.
Number two, did they really say that? And number three, why are you telling me that? What's your point you're trying to make? And I hurt. I mean, if your wife thinks you're a fucking asshole and is telling you that everybody in her women's group thinks you're a fucking asshole, sometimes you have to let go of the things you love to eat the things you want. That's one of the things I had to move on from. But I'm telling him, we're having a barbecue with my friend. And I told him that. And I said, this is what my wife told me. My friend Greg says, Cindy and I don't think you're an asshole. That just changed everything. That was just what I needed to hear from a guy friend. He didn't think I was an asshole. Because, I was struggling with that one. Why is my wife telling me that? Why does she think that about me? And so I just needed that support. And again, if we've got good guys in our life, we can handle the ups and downs of a relationship. We've got the stability. When I'm struggling with my wife, my friends know about it. When I'm happy with my wife, my friends know about it. When I'm distracted thinking, oh, yeah, I kind of like the attention that woman's paying to me. My guy friends know about that too, right? I know to share that with them because I know my slippery slopes. So no matter where you're at in life, I'm convinced life works better if you've got that tribe, you got that foundation. Whether it's just a good guy friend or two, just regular hanging out with a guy friend, guys' night out, men's group, 12-step group, church group, whatever. When men let the tribe go, everything else gets harder and everything else, starts sliding, slipping.
Sure. How do you ensure that you're around the right men that will not just continue to confirm your bias? Like, for example, I don't want to be around men that tolerate me just venting all the time because I believe what you focus on expands. So if I'm just continuously talking about the problem with no one checking me or giving me any solutions, we're just kind of perpetuating the problem into a bigger one.
Yeah.
How do you create enough awareness to understand that these people are actually truly giving you the feedback that you need, not that you want?
Yeah, that's a good question because, iron sharpens iron. David Data talks about this in Way of the Superior Man. He said, we need a group of men. He said, if we're showing up complaining all the time, we need a group of guys to say, get off the shit or get off the pot, sure. Right? Quit complaining about this. Like I said, when my coaches recently just said, quit being so codependent. It's like, yes, I needed to hear that because I was being a victim. I didn't feel good at being a victim, and they just could hear it. And I've got those people in my life that they'll let me know when I'm being a victim, when I'm being a dick, when I'm being seduced by my, whatever, when my ego's taking over. I got guys enough. I got a group of guys I've been with for 7 years. There's 7 of us. We haven't lost one guy in this group. We met in a men's program. We talk every other week for 90 minutes. We're in it for life. We're going camping together in about 3 weeks. And I just know these guys will call me out on anything. They love me to death. They've seen me go through every phase of my marriage. They've seen me, my successes and my failures in business. And they'll be there for me. If I'm heartbroken, they'll be there for me. If I'm being a dick, they'll point it out to me. And that takes time. But it's believe it or not, it's a lot easier to do than you might think. I think if men say, where can I find a group like that? And I go, well, start with a best friend or two if you've got them, and then say, hey, how about you invite a couple guys? I'll invite a couple guys, and let's twice a month, let's get together and just talk about real shit. Or just say, I need a men's group. I need a men's program. Ask it. Tell a few people. Go search on the internet for it. They'll show up. They'll find us. And I think the main thing is the container of that, whatever. If it's 2 or 3 guys just getting together once a month, or if it's a men's group or 12-step group, is a container such that nobody is allowed to just like drone on about, their victim bullshit story without somebody at some point saying, you ready to do something?
Yep.
Right. You ready to do something? When I was, in private practice, doing a lot of work, a lot of coaching, a lot of therapy, a lot of groups, I'd tell somebody that came to group or came to therapy, I said, you got 2 groups to come be a victim. Come complain for 2 sessions. When the second session's over, no more complaining, no more victim. We go to work. And so, yeah, we need to go complain a little bit, but then there's got to be, all right, it's time to get to work.
Sure.
And so if there's somebody in that group that basically, with love, one way or another, to say, you want some feedback? You ready to do some work? Can I take out the big stick? You all right with that? And one of my books is called The Big Stick, because I love that with men. I'll tell men just a really core, direct truth that my inside I'm going, oh, fuck, I don't know how he's going to take it.
Yep. And
I've had guys say, they'll be in a group, or they'll come back a week later and say, Robert, I was going to quit. I wasn't going to come back. I was really pissed at you last week. And the more I thought about it, I realized you're right. And I'm glad you said it. And I'm in.
Sure.
Where do we go? How do we work on this? Men are like that. In therapy, you can't do that with women. You can't take a big stick out and just with the confrontation. Men will thank you for it. So I love that about men. So yeah, we may have to hunt a little bit. We may have to experiment. Might be trial and error, but keep looking. And I'm a big believer, it'll find you. If you're open for it, it'll find you. Doors will open. And then here you are. Here's some good men that want to connect with you and hang out with you and go deep with you.
I think that's the importance of doing all the work as well, is like to create enough security in your own self to be able to call out your boys, other men in those situations. Because if you're on a shaky foundation,
that's scary. Calling out your bro, saying, "Hey, bro, maybe you might want to look at this." Yeah. Is he going to be mad at me?
Yeah.
But that's love. That's love.
I appreciated our morning coffee this morning. Me, you, and Brian, we're just going back and forth. And hey, can I offer up some feedback here? Or hey, do you mind if I correct you there? That's what I think true friendship's about. It's not always, rainbows and butterflies. It's having the harsh conversations.
We weren't just talking about documentaries we'd watched or, YouTube videos or this influencer. Yeah. We were getting real with each other. I said a couple, I've known Brian, so I love Brian, and he's going to be on your show coming up soon. And I said, Brian, can I give you a little bit of feedback? And he goes, yeah, sure. And I go, yeah, might you be attached to a specific outcome here? He goes, a few sentences later goes, yeah, you could be right. I might be attached to wanting this. I said, can I ask you a question? Yeah. What did the Buddha say about attachment? It's the cause of all suffering. I go, something to think about.
Sure.
Yeah, something to think about. Yeah. And, I didn't say anything else. And, and he knew it all came from love. And because it did. I love him. And do I have the answer for him? No, I don't have the answer. But I love him enough to poke a little bit, see if that's helpful.
Well, I think what I think you do such a good job of is providing a space where you can ask people enough questions for them to find the answers themselves. Because I think that's the most powerful part of the healing process in general is like, I don't want to hear that you tell me the answer. I want to come to the answer and the conclusion myself because that allows me to get over it.
I don't have the answer of how you should parent your kids.
Sure.
But I might point you in a couple directions of things to look at.
Yep. Lastly, this new book that you're writing, do you want to share about it?
I have been for the last hour and a half. I've been talking all about it. I just didn't name it.
Does it expand on the nice guy topic? Where does it lead, and how has it evolved from the?
It's I'd say more general. It's just written towards men.
Sure.
And just a little brief background. About 3 or 4 months ago, before I headed off to Japan, met you. This New York marketing company reached out to me, and they said, "We've seen your videos. We've seen you on YouTube. We love your message. We love your content. We launched Grant Cardone. We launched Mel Robbins. We want to make you a star." I go, "Well, okay, let's talk." We talked, and so we've been having calls and meetings for 3 or 4 months. They created a brand Bible for me of what is the work that I do. What is the work I do with men? What does I see as my mission? And out of that, created a hook and a particular message and a platform of moving that forward. And the hook is that we're working on is Guys Night Out. Is that we men to thrive at our best, and especially to have our deepest, most satisfying, intimate relationships, need that good foundation with men. And so the book is going to be dealing with just the isolation men have nowadays, the health issues we have because of that isolation, the struggles we have getting into relationship because of our disconnect from men, and not just giving simple platitudes and not just going into statistics, but giving men just real usable tools, both to make new friends, to find a men's group, to develop the friendships they already have into something deeper, and seeing that Guys Night Out isn't just this frivolous thing that takes time away from your wife and kids. It's an essential part of you filling your bucket up, creating those CRRs so you got more to give to the world, to your wife, to your woman, to your kids if you have them. So that's really going to be the theme, is how in the world we live in today with men so disconnected and isolated, how do we go about building a tribe to level us up to the best version of ourselves and help us have the best relationships we can have with the women in our life?
So good. I'm excited to read it because I also think this type of work continues to evolve as technology advances. It's never been more easy to disassociate as a man as well. You could just kind of go confide in the doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, et cetera.
Now just go talk with ChatGPT. Yeah. Now our best friends aren't even real people.
Yeah. And same thing with Zoom calls. Like they're effective, very effective, but in-person, belly-to-belly conversations. This is why it was so important that I didn't want to do this on Zoom. We had talked about that in Japan.
When you said come to Tampa, I go, okay, let's do it. Why not?
Well, that's where I kind of want to leave this, where I just want to express some gratitude to you just for being somebody in my life that was willing to, for us having met. We had one day together, essentially. I was sick the entire time in Japan. Besides one day, we got
and we're watching a baseball game, guys day out at the Tokyo Dome, and just having a guys time with the ball game.
I don't take it lightly that you're even extending your trip tomorrow. You're not somebody that will do things that he doesn't want to do. Especially when you're away from home, away from Lupita, away from your baby girl dog,
away from Nala.
Yeah, man. So I just want to thank you and the opportunity to build such a deep relationship so quickly and be able to get vulnerable, not just on a podcast format, but having these same exact conversations when we're off camera. It's been a huge piece of my life.
Honestly, I said yes for selfish reasons. Well, number one, I never been to Tampa. Number two, I liked you, and number three, I thought, I get to get on a plane and go hang out with good men. And anytime I get to go hang out with good men, I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this recently. She recently accused me of having a girlfriend in Austin because of how many times I've been to Austin lately. And we were out camping, and I said, listen, you go to dance lessons 4 nights a week. You go out to dance on the weekend. You take trips to go dance. You're the life of the party. You're an extrovert. You have friends, every night you go out, you're around people who love you. I said, I got no friends here. where we live. I said, my friends are all, I said, so I have to get on an airplane to go have that good connection with men. And I said, I got to have that connection with men. So I don't have a girlfriend in Austin. I got a bunch of guy friends in Austin. And like, she goes, yeah, sure. Go. So yeah, when I get an invitation to go hang out with good men, I'm a yes to that. So thank you for the invitation.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. I can't wait to have you on again and just continue to do life with you, man. Thank you so much.
I love it. Yeah, I'll come hang out with Ella anytime.
Good stuff.